I don't agree with the lawsuit that is being advanced by the Attorney General. I think, first of all, it's a frivolous, ideologically driven political gimmick by the Attorney General. I think it's not going to win. I think the Commerce Clause allows the federal government to do what it is doing. But more importantly, I think this. I think there are 4 million people in our state without health care. There are 800,000 children who have to be so sick that they qualify for admission into an emergency room. And I think the idea that the Attorney General of the state is advancing a position that is essentially the position of insurance companies against everyday people who desperately need health care is really remarkable. I also think that Attorney General's office has a lot to do other than advance these political lawsuits. We've got pill mills, we got gangs, we have Medicaid fraud, we have Ponzi schemes, and it seems to me that he should be focusing the attention of his office on those real threats to public safety rather than this imagined political threat that he has created. Well, I think BP is going to have to pay, but they're going to pay a lot. And it may be that other wrongdoers also pay a lot. But what's happening now is there are so many lawsuits, so many claims processes, so much going on that Floridians really need to make sure that there's at least one person whose sole responsibility is making sure that we get maximum economic recovery for our small businesses, for the folks that lose their income, for the environmental damage that may happen, and that it's got to be the Attorney General because that person is the chief legal officer for the citizens of the state, and so he's got to have their back. I also think the Attorney General should seek the ability to advance environmental claims against BP and other wrongdoers. It may be hard to do that because the spill has already happened, but to whatever extent the law will permit us, the Attorney General should be seeking the ability through the legislature to have the authority to bring criminal claims because our state has a right to really advance and prosecute wrongdoers who have done things that are going to affect not only our lives but the lives of our children. I don't agree with the state of Florida that there's a whole group of people out there that shouldn't be able to adopt because of who they are. I think gay Floridians should be allowed to adopt. I think it's unfair to children, frankly, that we've told an entire swath of Florida that they are unfit parents simply because of their sexual orientation. And I also think, more importantly, as the chief legal officer of the state, that I would not advance a position that I think is unconstitutional. And I do not believe that you can make the argument soundly to a court that the ban has a legitimate foundation in law and in the Constitution. I think this Reeker expert that McCollum was using, while everybody's made a lot of fun of it, the point I took from it was that the reason why he couldn't find a legitimate person to say gay Floridians aren't fit to adopt is that that is not a credible position and not a constitutionally sound position. So he had to find this obviously unfit person to testify. So I think whether it's not appealing or whether it's appealing in a different way, I would never advance a position as Attorney General that supported a ban on gay adoption. The first priority of the Attorney General has to be to restore that office to looking out for everyday Floridians and making sure they're not victims to predatory economic behavior. In our state, because we have a lot of fixed income seniors here and because we have a lot of immigrant populations and transient populations, seems to be a nesting place for economic predators, whether it's Ponzi schemes, whether it's business opportunity schemes, whether it's Medicaid fraud, whatever you call it. There's a lot of it, and it's the job of the Attorney General to make sure that those people are protected. Current Attorney General has not been doing that, and a lot of state attorneys' offices have been overstretched because of budget cuts. So that's something an Attorney General traditionally is supposed to do, and if I were the Attorney General, the first thing I would do was create an investor fraud unit, and I would also push the office into a more aggressive stance in protecting people's pocketbooks from people who are up to no good. And as a former federal prosecutor for nearly a decade who prosecuted those kind of cases, I think I would be pretty able to do it better than the other candidates.